RuneScape is turning into old school RuneScape. These changes are ruining the essence of our game, and Jagex are so tone deaf. Getting rid of AFK gameplay, nerfing certain XP rates, making transport across the game less instant, and reverting a whopping 2 quests back to what they were back in the day. Yeah, honestly, opening Reddit is such a treat sometimes, and my lord, it baffles me reading some of the takes people have. But hey, that's the beauty of it. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Let's break down some of the controversy that has sparked up after Jagex released their Dailyscape removal/readjustment blog and early game tweaks blog. Because in my humble opinion, all of it was a W. Besides one singular thing. Yes, Jagex wants to reintroduce PvP again. I'm just as baffled as you guys. Don't worry, I just really don't get why they are trying to force people. Like, PvP is dead in Runescape team. Let's just admit it. Let's move on from it. It's not going to work, but we'll address it. Leave a like to help me out. Subscribe if you are new. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But enough yapping. My name's Chevalric. And let's talk about these wonderful, wonderful takes that people have. Let's start off with the bombshell Jagex dropped the other day. The block you're seeing in the background of the video. I won't be going through everything, as I'm not the Code Pro Talks, but instead we'll be focusing on the friction points people seem to be having with it. But overall, if you want my take on it, this is exactly what Jagex needs to do to revitalize the game. But hey, you guys are probably here for the drama, so let's go over the points one by one. Now, I expected people to get upset about some of the Dailyscape overall changes, like the removal of daily challenges and wilderness flash events, which I did, but not necessarily about some of the early game rebalancing changes. However, the community managed to surprise me once more. I think anyone who played leagues or created an account in the last few years would probably agree that the early game in RuneScape kind of sucks. From lackluster or outright annoying trading methods like world hopping for thieving doors or super low success rates at skilling nodes to the lack of variety in skilling methods. For example, World Gigs being meta from level 1 to 99. You probably encountered many of said issues. Like I said, all of it here is a W in my eyes, like the changes they're making to this stuff. But people seem to be getting upset about some particular thieving and quest changes. Let's start off with the thieving changes, as the blog states the following. All pickpocketing will start with a 75% success rate, which increases with your thieving level and other buffs. The success rate will thereafter drop over time as you continue to pickpocket, until you're caught or pick a new target. To put that in layman terms, you won't get caught as often anymore without any buff, so early game thieving is buffed. But the longer you pickpocket, the less success you will see. As it stands right now, with most NPCs, if you have all the buffs active, you can AFK for about 5 minutes until your Crystal Mask buff runs out, and you'll have to reapply it. In certain cases, as stated in the blog, where you don't need Crystal Mask, you can AFK for up to 15 minutes straight. Most of you might hear this and think, what's the issue? If I want to AFK, I'll do this activity, and I guess that's fair. However, every skill in RuneScape is AFKable at this point in some way, shape or form. This makes every single skill feel the same. Do activity, but just get a different experience drop in a different logo instead. Sure, you can nerf the experience rates of AFKing and still allow people to do so, which I guess is a fair argument, but I think pushing people to actually play the game, actively interacting with the gameplay loop, is a way healthier thing to do. And if one of the 29 skills just so happens to be mainly trainable via active methods, is that so bad? Are you upset that your AFKness is going? Or are you upset that you are no longer getting some of the better XP rates with AFKing? Would you still care to pickpocket when the best AFK method is like 60 or 80k experience an hour? Or would you just wait till you're off work and do heists to get that juicy 1.5 million XP an hour? Jagex is trying to create a better game to actually play. And as long as AFK is viable in some sense, people will gravitate to it. And when it's not viable, whether that is because the loot is bad and the experience is bad too, most of you wouldn't even care for it in the first place. I think the ideal place for AFK should be somewhere in the realm of, hey, I AFK'd X skill for my entire 8-hour workday and gained 300k experience total. Yet if you didn't do so and you log in to actually play the game, within an hour, maybe 2 depending on the skill, you would be able to get that 300k experience as well. This makes it worth playing the game instead of it just being a second monitored idle game, but if you do want to AFK, you can still do so. Like, you still get some sort of meaningful experience. Yet this also ties into the argument I see regarding daily challenges. Don't worry, we will get to the old school RuneScape comparison as well, but at level 99, extended daily challenges give 210,000 experience daily for just a couple minutes of work. The argument people have regarding this matter is, well, everyone that did have them available to them has an unfair advantage over people who now don't have them. And the other argument is, this allowed me to keep up with the players who are at the end game, whilst I have a busy job that doesn't allow me to AFK. Both those arguments are very fair in essence. Yeah, it is unfair. I was able to lamponeering, aka dungeoneering, through my daily/earn treasure hunter keys, daily challenges, and penguin lamps. I mean, it's one of the main reasons people want a fresh start worlds. But at the same time, a big part of people feeling like this is also because playing the game itself, in many cases, does feel miserable. Why didn't I just train dungeoneering? Well, because dungeoneering is not enjoyable to train. Either because the experience rates are bad, rewards are lackluster, or simply methods not being engaging enough to interact with. Which, the latter mainly is how I feel about dungeoneering. I think it's very silly that the best way for me to train dungeoneering is to clear the dungeon as quickly as possible and just pretty much ignore everything I don't have to interact with. But that's just a me thing. Anyway, this is something Jagex is actively looking into. Not the dungeoneering part, but just fixing skills as a whole. Hell, one of the dailies, Fish Flingers, is being turned into an actual training method. This activity is pretty fun to do and boosts community engagement as you do it with others, which in turn makes playing the game a bit more fun. They just can't do it with everything in the game at once, so just be a little bit patient as well. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, they're gonna nerf some things and other things are not gonna get buffs in the future. I mean, they should do a better job at communicating this, I do agree, but it's not like they're not going to change other things. Like, they're not going to actively make the game more miserable for you. Yet I already see you typing in the comments, Chef, that's easy for you to say. You're maxed, nearly 120 all, and you have a trimmed completion escape. I know, I'm fucking awesome, thank you. But in all seriousness, I get it. I benefited from the broken systems, but as someone who is at the figurative mountaintop, the game is really boring when you get there. Once you do have all the good gear, stats and whatnot, the game literally becomes down to, what's the new update? What collection log am I going to be completing? Or what rare am I chasing, aka which moneymaker am I doing? To some that might sound fun, but I can tell you, the journey there was infinitely more fun than the destination. Like, I have memories of getting like 99 herb lore, but I can't tell you a single thing about getting any of my 120s really. Maybe like a few, but overall I really can't tell you anything about it. Making things a bit slower paced and more active in a sense gives people the impression RuneScape is turning into old school RuneScape. Because old school RuneScape has a clear balance between active skilling being vastly more superior than AFK in many cases, yet also the concept of slow progression through the game in general. As mentioned before, the biggest argument against making the game slower, which people act like Jax is cutting XP rates for all skills in half, which they are not, is that I have a job, and because of this, I can't keep up. And that sucks, truly. I genuinely get it. RuneScape is your favorite game, and because of changes like this, it might not be viable for you to play it anymore. Yet, changes like this appeal to many more players who are currently not playing the game, and the player base Jagex wants to attract. Let's not pretend the actual new player unicorn really exists in meaningful quantities, but the returning player definitely does. The majority of players who play old school RuneScape are former RuneScape players, and everyone who would be interested in playing right now probably played in the past. So catering to that audience makes it so that you can actually grow the game and keep it alive long term. I feel like people are just looking for things to be mad at, like changing Cook's Assistant back to requiring regular egg/milk and flour, or Sheepshear to not require black wool. It's not just a change for returning our old school RuneScape players, but also to help new players. With these quests, you're teaching the existence of black wool, which is only used in the Sheepshear quest, and super eggs and flour, or whatever the hell the items are called in the new Cook's Assistant. Yet again, also, they're only used in the quest. The main argument people would raise is, the old version doesn't teach new players how to do anything because they could just bring the items to the quest and instantly complete it. A new player actually doesn't know they need to bring these items and instantly complete Cook's Assistant. They spawn in Lumbridge, see a quest icon, and go gather the supplies, teaching them how to make a cake. with the actual supplies that make a cake in the game and not something that is only made for in the quest. And returning players don't need to be taught how to do this because they know. It's fucking Cook's Assistant, brother. It's not something like Slisk Endgame. And when it comes to transport in RuneScape 3, they're removing Fistwax, aka the way to get quick teleports through lodestones. And people seem to see this as, oh, they're removing quick teleports as a whole. Whilst the blog states, we are looking into a way to change the system to maybe require runes. I do have to give people that have this argument that it doesn't clearly state that when Fistwax is removed, there will be an alternative. Jagex does need to do better with some of this communication, I do agree. But even so, I think actually having quick teleports removed, period, would be great. Offering a use to all the other teleports in the game that now are just dead content. Why would I use a Falador teleport when I could just use the lodestone that's like 10 squares further and doesn't really cost anything? Plus, traversing the game isn't even the worst thing. Right now, your heat map is probably Wars, Grand Exchange, and the Fort 4 and 3. The rest of the game you probably barely get to see. Boohoo if you need to travel a little bit further and see some of the actual game world and other players. Sorry, I'm really passionate about the subject if you couldn't tell. Yet the RuneScape 3 crowd, on Reddit at least, seem to not want change to better the long-term health and growth of the game, and probably more worrisome are not actually seeing the real damage Treasure Hunter has caused. Some of these out-of-whack experience methods are there to have kept players playing during the existence of Treasure Hunter. Because if we had properly balanced experience rates, while Treasure Hunter would be a thing, everyone would have quit because playing the game would have not been worth it at all. And yeah, RuneScape always had fast and slow skills, but the gap between cooking being like 350k experience an hour at level 99 versus thieving being 1.5 million XP an hour is a bit out of whack, isn't it? Plus, with some of these high XP rates, it's hard for Jagex to actually introduce meaningful new methods to the game because they can't really give you even higher rates, and if the experience rates are not good enough, then why would most people do certain of these activities, right? So it's also to give them more space to actually create more engaging content for you to interact with. Like, do you not want to play the game? Like, seriously, I get the impression people just don't want to play RuneScape. And something I also just need to get off my chest, and I want all RuneScape 3 players to hear this, who are against change, get your heads out of your asses and just admit that old school RuneScape is literally 10 times more successful than RuneScape when it comes to active players. And I'm a RuneScape 3 content creator. But they have bots, right? Like 70% of their player base is bots. First of all, that's actually not true, but even if it's bots, let's use a different metric then. YouTube views. On average, an old school RuneScape YouTuber gets 10 times the views of RuneScape 3. Protox, the most successful RuneScape 3 content creator, my guy, the GOAT himself, on average, gets 30 to 40k views a video. Someone like Settled gets near half a fucking million views a video. Sure, different types of videos, but even so, it showcases that old school RuneScape is vastly more popular and clearly successful than RuneScape 3. Even the showdown, like the showdown that Iron Rexer made, on average got like 15 to 20k views an episode. Soup is getting 200 to 400k views an episode. Like, it's literally 10 times more successful, even though the quality of the videos are quite similar. So it really isn't that bad to take a page out of that game that is 10 times more successful than our current game and learn from what they do right. At least, I don't think so. But seriously, Jagex, stop trying to make PvP relevant. With the changes, they're reintroducing the Wildy Skull for prayer training in the Wildy, which from my understanding is making it the best in slot training method, which will just promote people to camp there and kind of grief in a way, because there is no real PKing in this game. And it's not like old school RuneScape where you can actually escape. If someone has decent gear in RuneScape 3, they literally just have to stun you, do a few abilities, and you're dead. Like, it just does not work with the combat system. There is no escaping. So the whole idea of, hey, I'm risking my bones and there's a chance for me to escape, like you have in old school RuneScape, doesn't exist in this game. So Jagex, please just stop trying to make PvP relevant. Keep the opt-in PvP in the game for people who actually do want to PvP, like player versus player, but don't do PKing, like player killing. Like, that stuff just doesn't work in our game, unless you're wanting to overhaul how combat works in PvP scenarios, which they're not doing. So until then, stay away from this. Anyway, what do you guys think of all this? Let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you did enjoy it. My name's Chevalric. And I'll see you guys in my next video.